On the 24th of May, 2025, in Monaco, a 24-year-old from Bengaluru stood on the Formula 2 podium while the Indian national anthem played over the streets of Monte Carlo. His name is Kush Maini. He was the first Indian driver ever to win a Formula 2 race at Monaco. It was a historic moment for Indian motorsport, and the country that was cheering for him has no Formula 1 race of its own. India has 78.8 million Formula 1 fans, more than the entire population of France. The sports fan base here grew by 41% in 3 years, faster than any comparable major market in the world. And yet, the last time a Formula 1 car raced on Indian soil was October 2013, over a decade ago. The fans didn't leave. The race did. This is that story. India's relationship with Formula 1 did not build slowly. It arrived. The sport went from a niche interest, known mainly to diaspora and cable television viewers, to a property with nearly 80 million domestic fans. And that shift happened while India still had no race on the calendar. When FanCode first acquired Formula 1's exclusive broadcast rights in India in 2024, the fan base was under 60 million. By the time the deal was extended through 2028, confirmed in December 2025, that number had climbed to 79 million. The platform doubled its total user base to 200 million in the same period, largely on the back of F1.
Formula 1 added Tamil commentary, Hindi commentary, a motorsport podcast, fan screenings in cities across the country. The infrastructure of a fan base was being built, just without the one thing that would complete it. To understand what India is building toward, you have to understand what India once had, and how it lost it. The Buddh International Circuit was built outside New Delhi at a cost of approximately $400 million. It opened in 2011. 3 Formula 1 Grand Prix were held there, in 2011, 2012, and 2013. All 3 were won by Sebastian Vettel. The crowds were large, the racing was competitive, the appetite was real. India had a Grand Prix, and the country showed up for it. India had a team in Formula 1. Force India, owned by Indian businessman Vijay Mallya, competed in the sport from 2008 to 2018. They finished 4th in the Constructors' Championship in both 2016 and 2017. They scored 6 podiums in 203 races. For a decade, there was an Indian name on the grid. And then, in the space of a few years, both were gone. Force India entered administration in 2018, a casualty of its owner's financial collapse, and was eventually rebuilt as what is now Aston Martin. And the Indian Grand Prix was gone before that, killed not by lack of audience, but by a tax classification. The Uttar Pradesh government classified Formula 1 as entertainment, not sport. That single decision triggered a 25% entertainment tax, plus customs duties on teams' freight. The promoter went to court. The court backed the government. The losses were written off at more than $25 million. The race was promised back for 2015, then 2016. It never came. The circuit sat silent, and India, a country with a team in the sport, a race on the calendar, and drivers on the grid, found itself, by the end of 2018, with none of those things. What happened next is the more interesting part of the story. The fans didn't leave. India has produced a line of drivers that never stopped moving. Narain Karthikeyan became the first Indian to race in Formula 1 in 2005. Karun Chandhok followed in 2010. Together, they made 59 Grand Prix starts across 8 seasons, without a competitive car, without a home race, without the infrastructure that most Formula 1 nations take for granted. Then Jahan Daruvala, Mumbai-born, Force India Academy graduate, spent 4 seasons in Formula 2 became the first Indian to win an F2 race in Bahrain in 2020 and was widely regarded as the most credible Indian F1 prospect of his generation. The door never quite opened. By 2025, he had stepped back from racing entirely. And then, Kush Maini. In March 2025, Alpine named the 24-year-old from Bengaluru as their test and reserve driver, only the third Indian officially linked to a Formula One team. 2 months later, in Monaco, he won. When the Indian national anthem played at Monte Carlo on the 24th of May 2025, it was playing for a 20-year line of Indian drivers who had kept going in a sport that had no race to offer them at home. Maini was the moment they had all been building toward. The broadcast infrastructure matched the driver story. FanCode's deal brought Hindi and Tamil commentary into living rooms that had previously watched Formula One in English or not at all. Fan communities grew online. Screenings sold out. The ecosystem built itself from the demand side, which is, in any sport, how it is supposed to happen. By the end of 2025, India had the fan base. It had the drivers. It had the broadcast deal. The only thing missing, the only thing that had been missing for 12 years, was the race. The gap between India's fan base and India's calendar presence became impossible to ignore in 2024. Travel booking platform Skyscanner recorded a 189% spike in flight bookings from Indian cities to Singapore for the September 2024 Grand Prix weekend. Then, a 188% spike to Abu Dhabi for the December season finale. Indian fans were flying to someone else's race because there was no race of their own to attend. That is not a niche fan base behaving niche. That is nearly 80 million people, millions of whom were booking international flights to watch cars go around a circuit in another country, telling the sport exactly what it means to them. Then, in March 2026, Formula One arrived in India anyway. Not for a race, for a show run. The driver was Arvid Lindblad, 18 years old, the sole rookie on the 2026 Formula One grid. Born in Surrey, England, Swedish father, Indian mother, her parents from Punjab. 3 flags on his helmet: British, Swedish, Indian. Qualifying 9th on his debut at the Australian Grand Prix. Before the show run, Lindblad said, "It's going to be amazing driving an F1 car on the streets of Delhi. It will be even more special for me because it's going to be my first show run as a Formula One driver, and doing that in India, with my heritage and background, is obviously something I'm very excited about." An Indian heritage driver made his Formula One debut in 2026. An F1 car drove through the streets of Delhi. A country with nearly 80 million fans watched all of it, on a streaming platform in a time zone inconveniently far from where the actual races take place. The presence is real. The absence is also real. Both are true at the same time. That is precisely what makes this the right moment, and the right question.
In March 2026, India's National Company Law Tribunal approved Adani Enterprises' acquisition of the JP Group's assets, including the Buddh International Circuit. The deal was valued at approximately $1.7 billion. Karan Adani, managing director of Adani Ports, said publicly that he was personally engaged in bringing Formula One back to India. India's sports minister stood at the circuit and declared, with some confidence, that India would have a race in 2027. Formula One's own spokesperson responded that a 2027 return was highly unlikely. Hosting fees for a Grand Prix now range from $70 to $150 million annually. The calendar is contracted. The logistics are significant. The timeline is not the government's to set. And yet, the last time India was in this conversation, in 2011, It built a $400 million circuit, put 3 Grand Prix on, and had one of the fastest-growing fan bases in the sport. The fan base never stopped. The infrastructure never went away. And the political and commercial will, for the first time in over a decade, appears to be genuinely aligned. There is no race confirmed. There is no date on the calendar. There is a negotiation in progress, a circuit under new ownership, a government that says it wants to remove the tax obstacles that killed the race in the first place, and a sport that has publicly acknowledged India as one of its most valuable markets. 78.8 million fans, a generation of drivers, a fan base that books international flights to watch races in other countries, a circuit sitting intact outside New Delhi, waiting. India doesn't need Formula One to validate the love. The love already exists. The question is simply whether Formula One is ready to meet it here.